Hey folks, how's it going? We're excited here to talk about some of the changes that are coming to the Frost Mage, and ever since Fire got hit by a bat in 9.1, Frost is going to be the go-to as far as progression rating if you're a Mage player. From a talent perspective, we're going with the 2-2-3-2-1-2-1 that you can see on the screen, and we're going to walk through each of these talents. So Lonely Winter, it's really the priority here. It just how it increases the damage of your Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Flurry by 25%. It's kind of the go-to. Um, it's just based on the current strength of Ice Lance itself. So really easy to take advantage of there. It just makes Lonely Winter the best choice. Now, tier 2, Shimmer replacing Blink. It's basically the same spell as Blink, but taking it off the global cooldown makes life a little bit easier on us, as well as having a second cast. So, Shimmer's the recommendation. Ice Flows might have a niche in certain situations, but don't sweat it. Blink isn't really an option. Um, Jumping down into tier 3, Rune of Power is the baseline choice for this talent row. It gives Frost a little bit stronger burst and damage than Incanter's Flow. Focus Magic can give the most DPS if you put it on another mage and they give it back to you. So you've got to start getting extra coordinated there, as well as basically guaranteeing a 10% flat crit chance and 5% intellect buff. So this needs to be simmed though, as your gear may not need the crit. Remember that Rune of Power ultimately gives you on-demand burst, which is always valuable. There's a small niche for Incanter's Flow if you can't reliably stand still to stay near your Rune of Power. So this talent doesn't do that much worse for Frost, so keep that in mind. But Rune of Power is the recommended jump. Tier 4. So Chain Reaction is actually the recommendation here. And just like tier 1, since Ice Lance does so much damage right now, Chain Reaction just becomes the default choice. Tier 5, we've got a couple options here. Frigid Winds basically increases your slow effects by an additional 10%. I don't know. That's basically the way to go. Being able to slow enemies a little bit has some upside. In Mythic Plus, you can use Ring of Frost, but we're talking Raiden. Tier 6, I'm so used to using Freezing Rain, and however, we're pivoting over to Splitting Ice. Basically the same as Tier 1, Tier 4. The current power of Ice Lance just makes Splitting Ice the clear best choice. If you can find a small use for Comet Storm on bursty AoE situations, maybe pull that in, but ultimately, Splitting Ice is your go-to on this talent row. Thermal Void, it actually just increases Icy Vein's duration by 10 seconds. And why that matters is it allows that extended duration to tie in so well with the fantastic legendary we're going to talk about in a moment. Icy Veins being able to be extended actually allows us to start to create more exponential damage with Frost, which is the exact opposite of what's going on over with Fire right now. So we'll jump into it. Effectively, what we're seeing here is that Frost is really scaling well with the Conduit Icy Propulsion. And it's kind of strange to talk about a Conduit ahead of a legendary. But Icy Propulsion, when you combine that with Thermal Void that we just spoke about, has some great aspects to it. It basically allows you to extend the duration of your Icy Veins and in turn create a ton of damage. Um, it's got some weird DPS uptime impacts though, which basically means that when you're not lined up appropriately, you're gonna kind of drop off the meter substantially. From a Covenant perspective, Frost really works around getting procs and spreading them out properly. Um, where you want to actually take advantage of that, there's only one covenant that's going to be able to materially help us out, and that's with the Venthyr. So Mirrors of Torment effectively guarantee 3 Brain Freeze procs as long as the boss will be active for the duration of the debuff. Pretty straightforward. Mirrors of Torment, castable spell that leaves 3 mirrors on the target that will do a little bit of damage and give you a Brain Freeze proc every time they cast a spell. Using an ability or attack, 6-second internal cooldown on the proc. Not a rockstar covenant by any means. Not as totally impressive as some other classes that are out there. But Venthyr again is quite above the other specs. So that's why it's the recommendation for our play here. From a legendary perspective, what you actually want to start to pick up and prioritize is find the legendary Silk Ice. So for every single target, you want to use Silk Ice. While Icy Veins is active, each Frostbolt you cast actually reduces the time of Frostbolt by 2, reduces the cast time, of Frostbolt by 2%, but increases the damage by 2% as well. So with that effect stacking up to 10 times, you start to get Frostbolts that we can cast, the more procs we'll get, and the longer our Icy Veins will be, because we've got our Thermal Void talent. So what we start seeing is a increased reduction on the cooldown of Icy Veins through Icy Propulsion. You want to craft this legendary, get it on your legs, stack it up with crit and haste, and Frost will absolutely punish your single target opponents. You've got to go with other builds, go with legendary Freezing Winds or for 2 targets and Glacial Fragments for more than 3 targets, but Silk Ice and this build, you will be clapping. You'll be like a Death Knight back in BFA, just exponential damage right across the board. Now, finally, from a stat perspective, you want to prioritize intelligence, then crit. Basically, crit is an incredibly special stat for Frost Mages. We've got a passive that's called Shatter, and basically, it's calculated by taking your crit chance times 1.5 plus a 50% flat crit rating. So, long story short, make sure you crit every Shatter. Every time you see a Shatter, you want to Ice Lance. If you wanted to crit every Shatter, you basically need a 33% crit. So that's your break point. Get up to 33%, and then you're just slapping from there. After you've hit that break point, really prioritize haste, then Verse, and lastly, Mastery. Mastery doesn't do a whole lot for us. Alright, folks, that's the Frost build. Really excited to see where it goes here. I'm expecting to see some awesome damage coming out in the race for World First once 9.1 drops. Let me know what you see, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.